This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm sharing with you some key takeaways from a unique and excellent book by Frank Hanna. It's called What Your Money Means and How to Use It Well. Today, I'm helping you answer the question that is very central to this book. Am I spending my money as I ought to? And sort of related to this are a couple other questions. How much money do I need? How much money is enough? By the way, this is different in different circumstances, and I'll kind of explain that. You'll kind of see what I mean by that as we get into the other two categories of spending. But there are 4 categories of spending that Frank Hanna outlines in the book: bare necessities, genuine needs, profession-related needs, and beneficial goods. And so he breaks it down in this way, and he calls them together. The group of 4 of these is called the fundamentals. Once we have enough money now and in the future to cover and pay for the fundamentals, then anything left over is called non-essential wealth. And so I'll get into that later in the week. But today I just want to cover these 4 fundamental categories of spending. Okay, so the first one, bare necessities. That's the things that keep us alive: food, water, shelter, minimal medical care. If you can't afford these, then you do not have enough money. And you want to focus on spending your money here first and foremost. The next category is genuine needs. So genuine needs are: how much does it cost to provide myself and my dependents? By the way, the bare necessities was for you and any dependents as well. How much does it cost to provide myself and my dependents with decent housing, adequate medical and dental care, a fundamental education, and the other basic goods we need to develop as we should physically, morally, intellectually, and spiritually? Now you can see there's already a little bit of gray room here. Like, what is decent housing? Well, one of the examples outlined in the book is a man and his wife with a large family. They have 12 kids. Decent housing might look different for them. They actually live in a small house with 1 bathroom. But for many of us, a small house is all we need and what we should be living in. Many of us live in larger homes than what we need or what would be prudent. Then the next one, where there's even more gray area, is profession-related needs. How much does it cost to finance those things I need to fulfill the responsibilities imposed on me by my profession? These would be things like, maybe the decision about the car you drive, some of the clothes you wear. A lot of that is necessary for the type of job that you have. One of the examples that I love and really will stick with me, I'm sure, for years from this book is the example of the President of the United States. It takes millions of dollars a year just to run the White House. It has like 100 and something rooms. It has, like 50 bathrooms. There's a full-time staff. They're entertaining guests all the time. He's got cars, limousines, a huge jet at the ready at all times. Now, this might seem frivolous depending on certain professions. Like if you're a school teacher, you certainly don't need those things. But if you're the President of the United States, yeah, it is important that you have those things. And the president would be spending, within reason, spending the money as we ought to, even if he's getting on that jet and flying around the world. That's necessary for his job and his role. Okay, then the last category is beneficial goods. So these are things that are good for us, but if we cannot provide them for our families or we don't have them, they are not going to prevent us from becoming the people we are meant to be. So they're not going to inhibit our physical, mental, or spiritual development, but they're good things to have. And so some examples of this would be learning to speak a foreign language, playing a musical instrument, access to literature, beautiful art, pleasant and efficient transportation, more than minimal clothing, a varied and interesting diet, a household that's not crowded, and opportunities for pleasant and relaxing recreation. So you can see like a varied and interesting diet. That's an interesting one because that would cover going out to eat at restaurants, enjoying unique foods, maybe spending money on cooking a meal for friends and family. That is beyond the mac and cheese. All of these things that I just listed, Hanna says they make an austere life more comfortable and many of them are pleasurable, but they're more than that. They're truly beneficial in that they make it easier for a soul to develop properly. Solace and necessary rest, privacy, interior silence that nourishes the deeper elements in men and women. These are the things that, enjoyed rightly, can lead to true and abiding happiness. Now, again, these are going to be different based on each of our circumstances. Beneficial goods for others may not be beneficial for some of us. Travel is a good example of this. Maybe providing a certain education, college education for your child. You could make an argument that Harvard would be trying to send your child to Harvard, and the expense involved in that might be a beneficial good for some, but not for others. So it really takes some interior thoughtfulness when you're looking at, especially this last category of the beneficial goods. But anything that we have above providing for the bare necessities, the genuine needs, the profession-related needs, and beneficial goods, those four fundamentals, anything we have in addition to that is called non-essential wealth. And again, I'll turn to that tomorrow. But for now, we want to answer the question, do I have enough money? And if you can cover these four categories, then you do. Am I spending my money as I ought to? And if you're spending it in these areas, then you are also spending it as you ought to. If it doesn't, though, and I'll talk about some areas where spending your money, maybe you're not spending your money as you ought to in further episodes. But we want to avoid that, because if you're not spending in these areas, then you're probably not spending money as you ought to. It could be to seek pleasure, could be to show off to other people, your success, vanity, things like that. We want to avoid those types of spending. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.